Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Kazan in Russia to attend the two-day BRICS summit. He's also holding talks with many world leaders on the sidelines of the summit. The most highly anticipated bilateral meeting is the one that is expected to be held between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping tomorrow. Significantly, just yesterday, India's Foreign Secretary announced that India and China have arrived on a patrolling arrangement along the line of actual control, and it can lead to disengagement and resolution of tensions that arose following fierce clashes between soldiers on the two sides in the Galwan Valley in June 2020. Those skirmishes left 20 Indian soldiers dead and led to a military standoff between the two sides for well over 4 years. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar stated, "We have reached an agreement on patrolling, and with that we have gone back to where the situation was in 2020. We can say that the disengagement process with China has been completed." So what has happened is that we have reached an understanding which will allow the patrolling to take place again. My knowledge is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020. I think it's a good development, a positive development, and I would say it's a product of very patient and very persevering diplomacy. Jaishankar added, "We've been negotiating since September 2020 when I met my counterpart Wang Yi in Moscow. I think it creates a basis for peace and tranquility which should be there in the border areas, which in fact did exist before 2020. We will be able to come back to that." Now, patrolling came to a halt in 2020, after which the two sides accepted buffer zones in some areas of the dispute that denied the militaries their normal patrolling routes. Today, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said the two sides have reached a resolution on the relevant matters which China speaks highly of. Going forward, China will work with India to implement these resolutions. The Chinese side did not offer any details, but the spokesperson added, "Over a recent period, China and India have been in close communication through diplomatic and military channels on issues related to the China-India border." According to India, the agreement marks a significant step towards disengagement, particularly in the remaining friction points, indicating the sensitive areas of Depsang Plains and Demchok. China watchers say while this is a significant step in defusing tensions between the two countries, India should be cautious about China's motives. Multiple questions still remain unanswered. Will the disengagement lead to de-escalation between the two sides? Will China go back on its land grabs in Depsang and Demchok? Will the Chinese troops withdraw from these areas? Will we return to status quo ante? Will the border go back to being the way it was in 2020? Experts say in the past few years, China has built permanent infrastructure in Ladakh. What about those Chinese settlements? In the past, India has maintained that disengagement would only constitute the beginning and that normalcy at the line of actual control can only follow after de-induction and demobilization of troops that China has amassed at the LAC, leading to counter deployments by India. The question also being asked is, will we see that happening in the foreseeable future? Some say the new agreement might imply that Indian troops whose access to certain patrolling points along the LAC was blocked either by Chinese troops or due to the implementation of the buffer zones created in the aftermath of disengagement at specific friction points could possibly access them again in the near future. All eyes will now be on that meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping tomorrow. Just what will the two leaders discuss? Can we expect any major breakthrough? Although the two leaders met 18 times between 2014 and 2020, they have spoken publicly only twice since the Galwan Valley clashes of 2020. Once on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Indonesia in 2022, and then the BRICS summit in South Africa in 2023. Could the two leaders, through their bilateral talks in Kazan, pave the way for the next important step of de-escalation between India and China, or is that too optimistic a view?